What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 51 of Bettin and Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, of course, Kyle Roscoe, and welcome in everyone. We have a fantastic show for you guys today as we're going to cover the Breeders' Cup of claiming horses, as they call it, the Fairgrounds Claiming Crown Late Pick 5 on Saturday, December 2nd. Again, thank you all so much for joining in today as we're going to have a good one for you. Real quick, of course, you know the drill. We're going to run through a bunch of peripherals for the first few minutes, and then we're going to get right into the handicapping. So tomorrow, the next show on this podcast will be tomorrow. The next live show will be tomorrow. I'll talk about that in a second at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, where Howard, Pete, and Paul will be covering the Cigar Mile and the Late Pick 5 over at Aqueduct on Saturday. You guys don't want to miss that one, as that's a very, very good card in New York. But I said next live show, that right after this show of Bettin and Boozin, Howard and Matt Miller will be talking about the podcast and the 2024 Kentucky Derby in a very special video coming to you guys again right after this podcast ends. Howard will post both this on YouTube and that video, so please stick around and go watch that. Watch HHH Racing Podcast double header tonight. Again, Howard Kravitz and Matt Miller are going to talk about the podcast and the 2024 Kentucky Derby. Very early look right after this goes live. So thank you guys all so much. And while you're down there, please go hit subscribe and hit the like button. It really helps us out, as it not only brings you back to more podcasts on this channel, but it pushes out this to many more people through the YouTube algorithm to hopefully get them to come over to the HHH Racing Podcast as well. Again, like and subscribe and comment your opinions below. If you're not watching this live, please comment your opinions below the video player. I and all my co-hosts respond to every single one below, so we would much appreciate if you guys did that. If you're an audio listener, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor is where you'll find not only every episode of Bettin and Boozin, but every single episode that goes up on the HHH Racing Podcast channel, all audio, all the time. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. And the HHH Racing Podcast Power Picks, guys, still extremely affordable, still extremely profitable. Out of 450, I checked today, and actually not updating for this week, but out of 456 total picks over the last 2 years, we are still over the positive mark. We're $2.19 ROI all time, $2.59 in 2022, and the average is $1.60 for the average horse player. So, guys, if you're not in on the HHH Racing Podcast Power Picks, you guys are missing out. That's through Patreon. Link is also in the description, patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast. And it only comes out to $4 a month. 2 full cards of all the picks, all the analysis you need for only $4 in a weekend. You're not even getting that when you get tip sheets at the track, guys, and they're even more expensive than $4. Get on the HHH Racing Podcast Power Picks. And, of course, if you want to see previous editions so you know what you're getting into, want to find out anything about us, HHHRacingPodcast.com is always there for you guys. But, guys, we're going to get right into it here, and I'm going to bring on my co-hosts. And like I said, we're covering the Late Pick 5 at Fairgrounds. That starts in race number 7. But before that, like I said, I got to bring on a few people to help me. From New Jersey, Patrick Kuenzel, and from UK, but now known as West Coast Bias, Noah Maher. Noah, Patrick, what's going on, guys?
Not that much. Glad to be back.
I know. We've been missing you, and all the fans have been missing you in the chat. Noah, big win yesterday, huh?
Oh, yeah. Rupp was buzzing. I will say, if we shoot like that against anybody, we're not going to get beat.
Well, you said, I mean, no, I won't say that. You had a good win yesterday. You got to keep riding the high. We can't be looking backwards. You always got to look forwards. But obviously, he's got the UK jersey on. Wouldn't have anything else on. But we're going a little bit of festive here, guys. We got Christmas season now upon us, and obviously all the holiday season. So happy holidays to whichever you celebrate. But after Thanksgiving, that's when it's go time. As you saw the bottom of the screen there, the border we have was filled with the Santa hats. So, you know, like I said, we try to get as much festivity in here as we can. But for those of you that don't know, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Claiming Crown before we get in here. For those of you that don't know what it is, so it's basically what, like I said at the beginning of the show, it's the Breeders' Cup for claiming horses. All of these races will be designated as starter allowance races, but they're all have extremely elevated purses. Everyone's trying to get a share of $1 million for this day at fairgrounds. But the caveat is, in either 2022 or 2023, these horses had to start for a claiming price of $25,000 or lower. And that could be at any point throughout either the 2022 or 2023 season. But that's what gets them designated in for these claiming crown races. Just a little bit of background for you guys that might not be too familiar with the claiming crown, but you see starter allowance, even see starter allowance 8,000, 20,000, 25,000, but these purses are for a minimum 75,000, all capped off by race number 10 on the card, which is the claiming crown jewel for $200,000, guys. So again, for those, just a little bit of background for those of you that don't know too much about the claiming crown. Again, they have to have started in the past year at a price of $25,000 or lower. But guys, we're going to get into some comments here. Speed of the Horse, I see you're here. Thanks so much for joining the show. Greatly appreciate it. Steven Vanderbrook, absolutely, my friend. Good evening, you all. Smash that like button, everybody. Again, 13 likes. We got some decent people watching in here, so please smash that like button if you haven't already. Katie is here, of course. What's going on? Let's get some wins. Absolutely. Sean Kane, Smoggy. Let's see who else is in here. Thomas Spinoza is here, of course. Michael Austin. I would love to put in a claim for something, because this is you claim a horse, you bring him for $200K and you end up winning the claiming crown. That's what it's all about. And of course, the aforementioned Matt Miller, who's going in the show after this show goes live, is here. What's going on, Matt? Thanks so much for joining the show. But guys, like I said, we're not going to waste too much time. We're going to go right into it. The late pick 5 for the claiming crown starts in race number 7. So it comes into 4 claiming crown races, as well as a Louisiana bred allowance N2L in the last race 11. But this is a starter allowance. Again, it's all designated starter allowances due to the fact that they need to write in these conditions for these claiming horses. But it is for $150,000, going 5.5 furlongs on the turf, draws a full field of 12, including 2 also eligibles all the way to the outside. Morning line favorite being number 2, Mischievous Rogue for Luan Machado and William Coens. And then the other 2 choices are shared by Bring Me a Check for Patrick Reynolds and Jareth Loveberry, and Shimmer Me Timbers, for Franklin Arietta and Robert Diodoro. As I switch over to the picks right now, guys, we'll get her going. And there is an odd man out. Patrick and I are both going with the number 2, Mischievous Rogue. But I have in second, Noah, and I'm also interested in a fantastically named horse. For those of you that know, you do know, Tilted Towers for Arlington legend Chris Amy and Brittany Vandenberg. Noah, what'd you like most about Fortnite's greatest, Tilted Towers?
If you're asking, no, that is not the reason that I picked this horse. Yeah, but Tilted Towers is the horse itself has been around for a while. Because I know my California shit and I'm West Coast biased for a reason. I know that this horse was with Peter Miller at one point. But you look at the just the turf races that the horses run. You go back to July 21st at Ellis, set off the pace and got a 90 buyer going 5.5. And then you look at the Kentucky Downs race where it looked like he had a lot of trouble. And it looked like Vandenberg tried to get him back on the turf at Churchill. Didn't end up working out, won the race anyways. So I'm just kind of, looking at that turf form, kind of keying in on that. I feel like there's a lot of speed in this race. So I feel like, the style that Tilted Towers has can get it done in here.
I could not agree with you more. Obviously, I'm very interested in Tilted Towers. I have him in second, a 7-year-old, again, claimed at Turfway last December for $18,000 from Mike Maker, and then gets into Brittany Vandenberg's care and has just been climbing up the ranks and winning at these types of ranks. You could see, as Noah keyed on, this 90 buyer right here at Ellis Park is exactly what she has been looking for. I'd say, like you said, tried to get him back on the turf, didn't get to, but ran extremely well on the dirt. And then next time out, he fit in this starter allowance, might as well get in, see if he can run well on dirt again. Just didn't have the chance. So I think getting back to the turf is exactly what Tilted Towers wants. Patrick, you don't have this horse anywhere, but Noah has the number 2, Mischievous Rogue, in second. look, the very obvious what's going to be the morning line, or what is the morning line favorite? What's going to probably be the post time favorite. 4 straight 90 buyers. The tactics fit as well, Patrick. Anything else, of course, you want to key in on, but that's kind of where I was looking.
Yeah, same thing. Consistency. I prefer the speed in turf sprints, and Mischievous Rogue has that. Could this pace break down? I'm sure it could in a way, but I just the way the form that this horse is in right now, I'll take my chances. I look at the last 2 races; those are 2, I'd say, races that are better than this one. So this is a little bit of a step down. So I prefer the 2 in this spot.
And that's the thing, right? Is when you look at the horses, I mean, we look at races like the Claiming Crown, these horses are running in allowances at like Keeneland, stuff like that. These races could honestly just have better fields, or those races could have better fields than what's in here. Just because you have to fit that condition, right? Is these horses have to run for that low amount of money. And again, they could have easily improved a lot, such as with this horse, Mischievous Rogue. But, we can talk about it all the time, but these running lines with Mischievous Rogue is very, very formidable. And I'm very keen on him to just sit off the pace, where at fairgrounds, there hasn't been a whole lot of turf sprints run these past few weekends. I believe it's only in the 5. By the way, shout out to my good man Ryan Pipp on Twitter. He does a fantastic job of covering these the track and way it's playing. So shout out to Ryan Pipp on Twitter. But they haven't run too many turf sprints. So you kind of don't know where they want to be on the track. But I love the fact that this horse is going to be stalking what seems like on paper to be a lot of speed. Patrick, I'm going to let you fill out here because you have the number 7, who I have in 3rd. I'll let you talk about anything you want. And then obviously you have the number 11 in 3rd.
Yeah, bring me the check. New York horse for Pat Reynolds. This horse, I'm probably going to say it a lot tonight, has faced tougher competition, has run fairly well. Last out, not sure the horse had much of an excuse, but I just think in a spot that seems to be a little bit softer, bring me a check, ships in, and has a decent shot. And then the 11, Cotton for Safi Joseph. This is kind of a hunch play, just off the claim. Safi's always good, and especially at a price, I like to include these horses. So I'll just play Cotton underneath. But you also look. This horse was even money the last 2 times. Actually, favorite last 4 times out.
Yep.
Is 2 for 4 in that spot. So I think this horse could fit in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that 93 buyer easily fits. Obviously, going to have to cover from that outside post with a lot of speed to his inside, but that if he, runs anywhere near those 93s, that easily fits in a spot like this, barring a good trip, which he got in basically all of those races. Noah, you have the last say here. You have the 2 Mischievous Rogue, but then you have Shimmer Me Timbers in 3rd as well. Fill out anything you want to do before we move on.
Yeah, for my top spot, I was definitely in between the 2 and the 4. With Mischievous Rogue, I kind of thought he hung a little bit last time. It looked like he kind of got the perfect setup and just kind of couldn't go by. So I assume this horse is going to take money. I would maybe think 2 to 1, 9 to 5, which is I would much rather take Tilted Towers at 7, 8 to 1 rather than Mischievous Rogue. And then I've got Shimmer Me Timbers in 3rd, who's actually Calbred, off the claim for Diodoro, claims for 40, and then throws him into a race for 150 purse-wise. But the last race was a little bit of they call it like a zigzag, where he was, up on a hot pace, and then he kind of floated back and then passed the leader, but, did a lot of the dirty work and just got caught. But the Diodoro 22% off the claim, and he brings Arietta, a guy who's very familiar with his horses. And Diodoro himself hasn't done too bad. I shout out Kyle for helping me with these stats. Diodoro 3 for 29, shipping to fairgrounds the last 5 years and 9 in the money. So one that's got speed, but with a lot in here, maybe not for the win end, but can certainly run in the money.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, a lot of these horses, a lot of these trainers are actually coming for the claiming crown, don't usually run their horses at fairgrounds. So if you like to play more local connections, of course, take a look at um, which horses you like, and obviously cross-reference them with how they run here at Formulator. Again, not sponsored, but we all use Formulator, and it's a fantastic tool to use. But I'm going 2-4-7. Noah's going 4-2-3, and Patrick's going 2-7-11. Guys, we're going to switch over the PPs right now and go to race number 8, and this is back to the dirt here. 6 furlongs, sprinting on the dirt. Joe's a full field of 11 there, with even an Illinois bred jumps in the mix, and I always love to see when that comes through. But morning line favorite is going to be the number 9, Like a Salt Shaker. Again, Amy Vandenberg. For those of you that are familiar with the Chicago circuits, you know that duo is always deadly and is always going to take money. And Like a Salt Shaker has been running lights out. The second choice is number 8, Solidify, for Navas and Juan Cano. And third choice is shared between the number 2 and the number 3, Pure Panic and All West. Guys, going to switch over the picks right now. And actually, Noah, very astute, my friend. I like it a lot. But Patrick, you are going with the number 9, Like a Salt Shaker. And since you are eating chalk, you get to go first.
Wow, this is a first. Like a Salt Shaker. I always just like, I don't like betting horses that are going to be 9-5 morning line, but I just think the speed of this horse in this spot should play really effective. And the horse, seems to win at the wire too in a couple races where, won by a head and stuff like that. Uh, I was trying to go elsewhere. I like the 5 underneath a little bit, and the 8 Solidify. I don't know. Doesn't really do it for me. I just think the figures that the 9 has shown recently are pretty much better than the bet, most in this spot. So I'm going to stick with the 9, and then I'll let you guys hit on the 8.
Oh, no, easily. The numbers are the most formidable out of anyone. I mean, straight back 92, 94, 95s, all running at this type of condition, the starter allowance condition. As you see, this horse was claimed back in May for 10,000 from Cipriano Contreras, another very good trainer in his own right. But since coming to Brittany, has just really accelerated. I think she's just spotted him really easily. The one thing I will say, Noah, and then I'll move on to you to talk about our top pick, is the way the track's been playing. You are much more likely to find a wire winner going 6 than 5.5, which is this race is of course at 6. All 5 of the early winning runners. Again, shout out Ryan Pipp on Twitter. If you don't follow him, go follow him. All 5 wire to wire winners have come at the 6 furlong distance, and 5 of the 11 closers so far sprinting have come at 5.5 furlong distance. But again, you can kind of get into the weeds there. Closers have had their way so far sprinting on the dirt this year, but I mean, if a horse like the Salt Shaker gets out by himself, which doesn't look like on paper, but we've seen dumber things happen before. If he gets out by himself on the lead, could easily run back to any of those numbers. But Noah, we're going somewhere different. We're going to number 8, Solidify. And for me, it was going back basically to exactly what I just said, with the closers kind of having their way.
Yeah, this is another race where there's a lot of speed. When you look at Like a Salt Shaker, a horse that's very fast, but I see a lot of blue numbers. So that's a concern for me, definitely at the price. So I went with Solidify. I just think he's the best closer, and he's probably going to get the setup. Has run, some pretty decent numbers, popped an 89.3 back at Keeneland, and beat, a horse or two in this field. And then the thing for me was, unfortunately, Novice, he's not getting the weight break anymore, but just a guy that's, familiar with a horse, and Juan Cano also owns. So just one that, there's going to be a lot of speed, and maybe they can set it up for him.
I mean, you're my words exactly. It looks like the trip really sets up for him. The fact that the track, Fairgrounds has always played well to closers, no matter where on the dirt, just because of they have an extremely long stretch, both obviously turf and dirt. But the the way, and it's carried over to the beginning of this year. So a race where it shows a lot of speed, and the fact that this horse is either going to sit second flight or maybe even just behind them. And I like that he's outside. Just being able to stalk and pounce would be an easy way to win this race for Solidify. Of course, if he is good enough, still running well at 7 years old, probably running the best of his life. And then Noah, I'll let you touch on the 3 here, and Patrick, I'll let you finish up and we'll move on. Number 3, All West for Chris Hartman, also entered in the Jewel, the Claiming Crown Jewel, the 10th race. So keep in mind where, obviously keep your eyes on which race he runs in. Fits kind of in both spots. I would argue more in here, Noah, though.
Yeah, I would as well. Another horse that should be kind of coming late, and some blue numbers that you've seen that he's tried to close into. You can look, you kind of look back, and some of his better races, running 85s and 86s were here at Fairgrounds.
Yep.
And then it shows it up in the top right. You see the horses, 2 wins, 2 seconds, and 4 starts. The one concern as to why I didn't put this horse higher was Chris Hartman hasn't, had a winner at the meet, and Mitchell Murrow hasn't as well. So when you kind of see those goose eggs, you don't have a ton of confidence. But one, again, with the speed that can maybe set it up, second off, should be pretty fit.
Yeah, and like I said, he's just got to get back to those 86s, maybe improve on a little bit. Looks a little slow numbers-wise, but could certainly improve. And obviously Mitch knows this horse really well, and he rides a lot for Hartman, so that's why he takes the call. Again, Patrick, finish up here, my friend. You have the number 5, started from the bottom. Now we here. I have the horse in 3rd. You have the horse in 2nd. I had to, dude. I mean, what are you?
I know, but I was gonna say I'd like to get the boss on and have him say that, because didn't we have something? What was the horse's name? What was the horse name last week that we had to explain?
Yeah.
I'll let you think about it.
Yeah, I gotta think about it. Hold on.
The 5 in this spot, I'm gonna cross a line through that last race. Had a rough trip, in a field that the horse was favored. So I just think if that horse can revert back to its mid-80 buyers, could fit in this spot. Tactically, I don't know about the speed. I feel like this horse is going to want to go and is going to have to deal with more speed. But I think at this price, I'll take a chance underneath at least.
Like I said, completely agree with you. I think this horse actually runs much better the last time out in the Ohio Sprint. Of course, at Mountaineer has a month off. Looks so if he runs near that race again, obviously he has to quicken up a little bit. But if it is able to upgrade from that 78, I know it's in state bred company. This horse is Ohio bred, but could definitely take a step up and come running late for a piece. So no, I mean, Patrick, I completely agree with you. I'm going 8.95. Noah's going 8.93, and Patrick's going 9.58. Guys, switching over to race number 9 here. Again, starter allowance 25,000, but for 150,000, this one is going long on the turf. Draws a full field of 12 again, all running for this money. And Old Man Grandpa is back again. Favorite number 11, Therapist for Florent Giroux and Mike Maker at 9-5. Second choice will be the number 9, Ocelot for Corey Lannery and Carl Broberg, and Racecraft, Ricardo Santana and Maker. Third choice at 5-1. Guys, switching over the picks right now, and you'll see only me actually is going with the number 9, I believe, if these picks are correct. I had Charlie's name still in there for some reason. So I'm going with the number 9. I'm the only one that has the 9 anywhere. Interesting. But Noah's going to number 6, Tatanka at 10-1, and Patrick's going to number 8, fun name, Tiberius Mercurius for Raylu and Maker at 6-1. Maker is 4 in here, guys, and obviously, and we have most of them, if not all of them, covered.
Pick them out of a hat. I think I have all 3 covered.
Pretty much. Obviously, the morning line favorite is Therapist, who is on a lot of our tickets, everyone except for Noah. I'll talk about why I like him the most. But Noah, I'll start with you here. I mean, look, you're going double digits, my friend. Number 6, Tatanka, James Graham, and Mike Maker.
Yeah, when I, first took a look at this race, I thought it was a really weird weird race. You got Therapist, the old Gramps, who's doing something that he is not necessarily great at. I mean, he's 1 for 14 going this distance. So I kind of was looking other directions, and I landed on Tatanka, even though I have him on top. As you'll see, as you'll see later, he's definitely won for the infamous reverse key try. And since Charlie's not with us, I'll
Yeah, and you know why he isn't here, right?
No,
there's one last Saturday example of why he's not here. I mean, Ohio State, ring a bell? Anyone? No?
I see.
Jesus Christ. Jesus, a lot of smart people in here tonight. A lot of yappers.
I was gonna say I was gonna ramble on the 6 about him just to show my respect.
Honestly, he has a final, which is why he's not here, which is a much better excuse. But of course, I'm gonna rip into him. And
this week couldn't get worse from finals. Ohio State losing. Jeez.
But anyway, Noah, sorry to interrupt you. Continue.
Yeah, no. What I was gonna say was, you look at the last race, and he completely stopped. But you look further into the race, it was a very good field. The winner came back and ran 4th in the Sycamore at Keeneland. Second place finisher Yamato came back and won the Japan Turf Cup Stakes at Laurel. The third place finisher English Tavern came back and won an optional 80 at Churchill.
Yep.
Fourth place finisher came back, ran a second in an optional 80 at Churchill. And then the 6th place finisher came back, won a 62.5 claimer at Churchill.
Yeah.
So Mike Maker, we always talk about, he gets these, longer horses on turf. Once he claims them, they start, performing. And he claims it for himself too. He himself is the sole owner. And this horse has gone longer distances than this, and has, been on the lead with red numbers as well. So I'm taking a shot. I don't know if the horse is the same, but I really don't like anybody in this field, and he's probably going to be in the lead. So
I mean, this horse is just absolutely send and just never look back and hope he just lasts. Because you could look at those last 2 at Lone Star, up by 6 lengths at one point, up by 10 lengths at one point, right out of the gate. It's just go, go, go. Obviously, that was a 1 3/8 and a 1 13/16, which is a little different than what he's running now. But still, this is just go, go, go for Maker. And if he can sit a decent lead, there's no reason why Tatanka can't win. Patrick, going to go to you here. Noah has him second. Tiberius Mercurius for Maker again. Ray Lou picks up the mount, who's obviously riding very well, as he always does at Fairgrounds. Another kind of go, go, go type for Maker.
Yeah, yep, exactly. With Ray Lou aboard, who I like in a spot that the horse is going to be on or near the lead. This 7-year-old is going to be ready to go. This is such a tough spot. I just I look at the last race, the Kentucky Downs race. I'm going to toss it. Horse just kind of gave way. It gets back to 1 1/16, which I do think is good, because I think this horse is going to sit a pocket trip where is going to be on or near the lead, but might sit right off and be able to pounce, because this distance to me feels like the perfect fit in this spot. Horses never raced at Fairgrounds, so I'm not sure how that's going to work, but hopefully I get at least 6 to 1.
Yeah, I mean, look, and I'll tell you what, this will lead in why I like what I like most about Grandpa. You want to be outside on this turf course still. You remember last year at Fairgrounds where they had the turf issue, and there's horses running up the outside rail to be able to finish home. It's not that bad by any means, nowhere close, but you still have wanted to be outside. Out of the 12 turf routes that they've ran, you want to be over half, exactly half of them have been won by horses from the 7-poster out. So, I mean, small sample size, but still, and almost half of those races have been won from horses coming from the back, which is what I like most about obviously Ocelot as well, but Therapist, who is the most likely favorite and probably will be favored due to these numbers, is just a straight dead closer, going a lot longer, which is why I don't necessarily like him too much here. Although he has won it back at Gulfstream going a mile in the 16th and has run very well. Just a matter of, does he kind of class up into this field going this short? I think he does. It's just a matter of, is he going to be able to quicken up? Is Grandpa going to be able to get those legs working down the lane? If he does, he's probably the best horse in this field by a decent margin. But I went other ways. I went with the number 9, Ocelot, a very good improving 5-year-old for Carl Broberg and Lannery. The reason, and again, I don't want to harp on Lannery. Look, I have much more faith that he's going to be a little bit farther back with Lannery aboard than he would be with someone like Giroux. And so I like the fact that, he's probably going to sit somewhere around mid-pack. And for horses that are going to come behind, I just saw the comment, from behind, and the fact that he's improving paired up by our tops, which good friend of the podcast, Matt Bernier, a really good indication that this horse might have another step forward in him, running these starter allowances at Remington Park, but still doing it very well and improving on the numbers. I really like Ocelot to sit a good trip from the outside, maybe too wide, coming around the top of the stretch and have first run on a horse like Grandpa Therapist. But Ocelot will be my play at a morning line of 9-2. Let's see. And then Patrick, and then we all have the number 2 who we didn't really talk about, Racecraft. I'll kind of throw it to you guys, just touch on Noah. I'll throw it to you first. Anything you want to touch on with Racecraft, who, I mean, another maker, but it has to maybe quicken up a little bit, but there's no reason why he can't.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Mike Maker again. I would have had him higher, but the thing is, I just kind of think he's a synthetic horse. And he won the turf race in Kentucky Downs, but I just feel like he still kind of has to prove it to me. Another thing I wasn't sure about were the intentions. Makers had him. He trained November 25th at Gulfstream. So it makes me seem like, he was planning on running him there, and instead he goes here. Excuse me. But then again, the purse is big, and I'm not one to question Michael Maker. So
look, you get any more chances he can get to win this race, the better. I mean, look, it's a decent purse. And if you have these horses that fit these conditions, why not try and throw them in? Because, I mean, this horse has been very competitive in his previous races, granted at the claiming level, but at Kentucky Downs claiming level, which we all know is not necessarily, your normal claiming level. And he's been running at Gulfstream against horses like Fly the W, which is a disgusting reference, but that's a really good Gulfstream horse, and then has gotten better over the past few months. And the fact that he's coming in probably the best form of this horse's career, there's no reason why Racecraft cannot continue to improve. I'm going 9-11-2. Noah's going 6-8-2, and Patrick's going 8-11-2. Guys, going to move on right here. And this is the featured race of the day, guys. This is the Claiming Crown. I know I'm getting rid of it. The Claiming Crown Jewel for $200,000. And as I switch over this right now, it's going 1.1 miles on the dirt. Draws a field of 9. And there's a horse we can recognize. The number 2, Money Supply, out of the previously out of the Chad Brown barn, now going to Joe Sharp. Jareth Loveberry has the mount at a morning line favorite of 5-2. Sakil is your second choice at 3-1 for Diodoro. And then outside, both of the horses outside to Sakil are all Diodoro, and all bring up the rest of their favoritism between Frosty Grace and King's Ovation. Switching over picks right now, guys, and you'll see 2 of us are going with Money Supply, but Noah, West Coast bias, odd man out, per usual. Going with the number 4, who actually Patrick and I don't have anywhere. Patrick, we're very similar in this race. But number 4, King's Ovation, again for Diodoro. I might be honest. Maybe I missed something, but I'm interested to hear what you like most about King's Ovation.
Yeah, well, number 1 is Diodoro off the claim, which is, a plus. And number 2,
bring it up right now.
There's a decent amount of speed, not a ton. And I just think, he's simply the fastest horse in the race. And if you look, the form is
real
kind
quick,
of
Noah. There's your stat right there. Off the claim in the last
Mhm.
5 years, he's 180 for 742, and that's 20. That's a good 24%, 55% in the money. Not bad stats whatsoever.
Yeah, not bad at all. If my math is right, that means that he doesn't win 76% of the time.
Well, yeah, you'd be right there, but you're hurting your point.
Yeah. But the form to me seems a little dirtied up. If you look solely at the races where he's got the lead, he does very well. And I think he gets the lead in this spot. I don't know if there's a ton, to suppress him, but I'm going to trust Diodoro. Ricardo Santana hops on, which is, probably one of the most talented jockeys that, are at Fairgrounds right now. And I'm going to, kind of trust in Diodoro's ability to, get a horse to fire.
And look, a very aggressive rider as well in Ricardo Santana. And that's exactly who you want on a horse like this, who's going to be gunning for the lead, especially off that last race at Keeneland where he ran basically out of his skin, something that we hadn't seen since July. Now pulls it out of his bag in October, coming in to this claiming crown jewel in probably the form of his life. So King's Ovation is definitely one to look for if he does end up getting the lead. Patrick, we both have the number 2, Money Supply. Again, like I said, previously out of the Chad Brown barn, but that last race, Patrick, was out somewhere where he really has never been before, way out back, and just absolutely flew home.
Yeah, that was very impressive for, the way Money Supply has, been riding in the past. Obviously he's going to stretch out in distance for the first time, going, did go a mile and an eighth, I should say, at Saratoga this past summer. Came in second in an allowance race. But I just think in this spot, the way Money Supply is shown, it can win in different, facets. I really think Money Supply is going to be tough in this spot. It is going to be bet pretty heavily.
Yeah, and he will be bet down pretty heavily. There's a lot of horses in here that will take a lot of money. Just so I'm not sure what price you might get on Money Supply. I think 2-1 will probably be the lowest you'll see him at. I don't know if I'd want to touch him at 2-1 because there's a lot of other contenders that could be in here. Yeah. For track trends kind of wise, it's kind of been shared between wire and closers. Horses really near towards the front have had 5 out of 11 wins, and closers had 4 out of 11 wins. So it's kind of in the middle there. But the one thing to note is, again, out of those 11 races, 7 of those wins have come from horses in either the 1, 2, or 3 post. Obviously, followed up by 3 wins in 4 to 6, and only 1 win has come from outside the set or outside the 6 gate. So 7, 8, or 9 in this spot have only had 1, or obviously not in this spot, but you get what I'm saying. Only 1 horse has won from outside from the 7 post or outside. So Money Supply fits that narrative. Will look to be pretty close up to a pace that might not be there. I'm kind of keying on those starter allowances at Saratoga, where he was a little bit closer and just lost to Mystical Curlin, who's a decent horse out in New York. So Money Supply is my top play as well. Patrick, I'm going to throw it to you here, kind of finish out with what you're thinking here. You have the number 3, Sakil, in second, and the number 5, the other Diodoro, Frosted Grace, in third, who I have in second. I have those two flip-flop. What'd you like most about Sakil and Frosted Grace?
Yeah, Sakil, I was kind of chasing it in Saratoga, actually. That was like opening week. I had the horse, in that was a tough spot. And then, comes back in Saratoga at the end of the meet. And again, faces Film Star. Just was the horse just didn't run too great. And then, gets to Churchill and the horse runs fantastic. So I think the horse is, sitting on another good race. But tactics wise, I'm not sure, what this horse is going to do because there is other speed.
Well, and the other speed, I guess the biggest thing to mention is the other speed is also Diodoro. So, coming right from his outside on number 4, who we talked about, I just don't, what's Diodoro going to say? Tactics wise, is he going to have Sakil sit off? Is he just going to have King's Ovation just go and sit off Sakil and just have, if those two bring each other out, he has Frosted Grace over the top? It's something along those lines. And it's definitely something to think about, which aforementioned Frosted Grace is the one that's going to be coming from the back. And if it's not the other two Diodoros, could easily be this one as well. Patrick, and I'm going to let you finish up here.
Yeah, and that's with the 5 Frosted Grace.
Yeah.
You know, I have this horse underneath because I just, I don't. I think this horse last out, just was tiring late. Wasn't really sure what was going on in that spot. The horse is 7 years old, so you wonder if this horse seems to be, running out of speed in this spot. The buyers have definitely dropped. But I'll give this horse one last chance because you look at previous races. If this horse can get back to a buyer in the 90s, has a very good chance of winning.
If he runs anywhere like he did at Oaklawn, I mean, he
Yeah.
hasn't really shown it since. Granted, he's 7 years old now, but I mean, those races were at 7 too. That 99 buyer, the top of his entire life, came in the spring when he was 7 years old. Like, if he runs anywhere near that, Frosted Grace is definitely not to be taken lightly, albeit the buyers have dropped off. And maybe he's kind of, I mean, he's been against like Giant Game, Skippy Longstocking, a lot of horses that might just be over his, echelon at this point. He did run in the Claiming Crown Jewel last year, which was held at Churchill, didn't run very well at all. So he comes back into the Jewel again, hoping that he can kind of get a little bit better setup. If he gets some type of setup, Frosted Grace could be one to watch out for. Noah, anything you want to touch on? You have the number 2, who we talked about, Money Supply, and Sakil also in second and third. Anything you want to touch on before we move?
Yeah, you guys pretty much hit the nail on the head with Money Supply. I thought it was between, either Money Supply or King's Ovation. Just with the, Money Supply, you see the versatility, 2 back, 1 on the lead. And then the last race, popped the 94 and was very impressive.
Yep.
I just don't know. You see a big jump up in buyer like that. And myself included, you kind of want to see that again.
Yep.
But definitely
the old Kyle Roscoe angle there. You got to see it again.
Yeah. But the 3 before that, definitely contend with the field. And then Sakil, for my sake, I hope King's Ovation is the one that grabs the lead. But Sakil, with those improving buyers until he was off for a couple of months, and then popped at 92 late September, one that's kind of hard to leave off.
I completely agree with you. It almost seems like, I don't want to say it seems moto obvious, but these 4 horses are definitely going to be hard to beat for me. All West is the horse that I mentioned, was also entered in the 8th race. Looks a little slow in this spot compared to the 8th race. So my guess will be he'll go there. Obviously, we don't know for sure. Number 6, Biloxi, again, another horse that just looks kind of slow on paper. Looks to sit in that kind of closing stalking spot. So fits the narrative, but not necessarily fast enough on paper. Same thing with First Glimpse. Same thing with Bright Spark. And Luigi Spirit could continue to improve. Finally showed an 81 last time at Laurel, but this just seems like a completely different task for Luigi Spirit, to where he's going to have to improve a lot doing something that he might not, especially, and I was talking about track trends as well. Being outside is not really where you want to be here. So I just think it almost seems kind of obvious to go 2 through 5 here and kind of spread around where you want to play. And that's either doubles or anything like that. Kind of hark on your opinions and just fire away. I'm going 2-5-3. Noah's going 4-2-3, and Patrick's going 2-3-5. Guys, switching over to the last race, and this race is outside the Claiming Crown. It is a state-bred, Louisiana-bred allowance for 53,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime. And it draws another full field of 12, guys. The field sizes have been fantastic at Fairgrounds these first few meets. So kudos to them for filling these cards. Full field of 12. Morning line favorite is number 5, Like This, for Ray Lou and Brett Calhoun. Second choice was all the way to the outside, number 12, King's Loot, for I believe it's Charlie McMahon. I might be wrong on that. I apologize. And then the number 6, Comanche Warrior, Devin Terry. So 9-2, guys. Gonna switch over the picks right now. We're all over the board in this race, guys. I have a horse on top. You guys have no, wait, those are not my picks. That's okay. I screwed up there. That's why that wasn't the case. Noah, I'm actually with you again here. I have the number 6 on top. I have 6, 12, 5 in this spot. Sorry about that, guys. But Patrick, again, not originally, but now odd man out. What'd you like most about the number 7, Malaki Empire at 8-1, which is a nice price.
Yeah, nice price. Listen, I'm gonna be honest. This spot has this race was really tough for me. I look at this horse now with the trainer Shane Wilson. The horse has been the morning line favorite in all three spots. The horse has finally won with the trainer now, and has been working very well since its last race on the 3rd of September. I expect a buyer to jump in this spot. Um, Tactically, I think this horse is going to sit off the pace. It has done that in pretty much every spot. Um, to be honest, I'm not really confident. I just think that this horse at a price might run bigger than the
Outrun his odds is what you're basically
yeah.
saying.
Thank you. Yeah.
Very good.
The way this horse is run should outrun its odds in a spot that's wide open.
Yeah, no way. Old man needs to sleep. I get it. Coming over from State Bred at both, Louisiana Downs and Evangeline Downs down there in Louisiana. You never really can know. And we're going from horses that are running in $150,000 stakes races to a non-winners of 2 lifetime Louisiana State Bred. You're going to see the drop in quality, sadly. But that last race could eat, and if he improves out that last race, definitely good enough to win in a spot like this where there's not too many other contenders. Noah, me and you are actually both going with Comanche Warrior. David Terre. I think I said Devin on accident. David Terre. Those numbers completely fit. That last race, maybe just a little bit too long for him. I think the cutback a little, the less of that half furlong, I think, is going to really help him.
Yeah, well, it just looks like he was an improving 3-year-old. Always a concern when a horse has been off for a while. But I just think with the natural improvement, and then what kind of stuck out to me were those last 2 works. He had the Bullet
absolutely.
on November 13th, and then a minute flat and 2/5 on the 24th. So if that's reflecting where this horse is at, talent wise, one that's should get some pace to run at, depending on if horses in this field show speed like they have before. I can't say that I'm super familiar with these connections, but based off of numbers and what I've seen with the horse, I'm going to take a shot, and it looks like you are as well.
Yeah, I am. And, that nice 92 price, maybe we'll get it, maybe we won't. But I completely agree with you. The other one thing I wanted to point out was the works, and you hit on it right away. Just if minute flat, back-to-back workouts makes me think that this horse is ready to go. And we might get a price coming off that pretty long layoff. So I'm really hoping that we get somewhere near that 9-2 and can get David Terre off the bump in this fairgrounds meet. Patrick, I'm going to let you finish up here. You have number 6, Comanche Warrior, and the number 5, Like This, who's the morning line favorite. Anything you want to touch on with those two before I'll move to my final 2 and move on?
Yeah, I'll talk about the 5 Like This for Raylu. I think this horse is pretty speed. And Raylu had this horse last out at the fairgrounds, and this horse was on the pace in a pretty fast space. Wow, I'm losing it tonight. Is very fast, and I just think this horse might be the speed of the speed.
Yep.
And could just like you guys talk about wire this field.
I mean, we always talk about it, right? Is that horses in this type of condition don't necessarily like to pass too much. And that's the one thing, I noticed with Comanche Warriors. He's one of the few that actually can rate and can sit back. This last race proved it for me. And you can argue, 50,000 hours or 2. It's basically the same thing. But coming over to fairgrounds where he's run well before is where I landed with Comanche Warrior. I have the 12. I'll talk about real quick, and then Noah, I'll let you touch on anything with the 8 real quick. King's Loot, it was between the 12 and the 8 for me for kind of this underneath spot, but the 12 has just been running in state bred stake races and been doing it very well, kind of stepping back into a condition where he almost kind of belongs in, a non-winners of 2, broke his maiden, and then has run well, has had 3 out of 5 in the money finishes in these Louisiana and the Louisiana Stakes. A lot of them coming from 2 years old, and then ran 1 at 3 years old, lost by 12, and hasn't been seen since. The works aren't the best, but Carl Woodley has done well over the past 5 years with his layoff runners. So King's Loot is where I landed for third, but I will not be willing to touch this horse at 7-2. He can beat me at that low of a price. But Noah, real quick, anything you want to say about the number 8, Gutsy, who you have in second at 8-1?
Yeah, I was a little interested in Gutsy. I don't know if he's really a win contender. But you look at his races. That 73 is higher than any horse has ever run in this field. And that was at Fairgrounds. You kind of look at his Fairgrounds form, and it's been pretty good in comparison to this field. So maybe not necessarily on the win end, but the horses, like I said, only 1 for 17 on the win end, but is 9 for 17 in the money, and 6 of those have been at Fairgrounds. So the horse hasn't really run back to that, but maybe hopefully the horse gets back to a surface that he likes. He can kind of show what he's shown before.
Completely agree with you. Like I said, this race is probably the most wide open out of all of them. And we can always say, it looks straightforward on paper with the, 3 logical horses, but especially underneath, you can get a lot of horses that maybe don't necessarily show that they can rate. Obviously, Gutsy is one of those in those far back races last year at Fairgrounds. Running in this type of same condition that he's running in today and hasn't won since. But underneath, obviously, a horse who's 1 for 17, but 9 for 17 in the money, you always look to play underneath rather than on top. I'm going 6-12-5. Noah's going 6-8-5, and Patrick's going 7-6-5. Guys, moving over to our best bets here, and Patrick, I'll let you go first. You have the in race number. Why don't I have the race number in there? Tiberius Mercurius is the 8th race, 9th race.
9th race, yep.
9th race. Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know why I don't have the race number in there. Must have deleted it. Race number 9, winning number 8, Tiberius Mercurius. In race number 10, a double, singling money supply, and into the last race, 6-7. Patrick, talk about your best bets.
Yeah, Tiberius Mercurius, this horse, I just think this horse at the price that it's going to be at is going to run big. And like I said earlier, should sit a nice trip at a good price. And, I'm looking at that last race at Kentucky Downs and throwing that away. And I think this horse will run well on Saturday. And then in the 10th, I have the double with the 2 money supply for Joe Sharp. And then into the 9th, which is the 6 and the 7, 2 horses that will be longer odds. So I'm looking to, in a race that's wide open in the 11th, hopefully one of those 2 will come in first, and that double should probably pretty well on Saturday.
That's what I was going to say was, going into a race like the 11th rather than coming in from the 9th to the 10th, you might get better price just because that money will be spread out to other places. So good luck with your best bets, Patrick. Noah, your best bets, race number 9, Reverse Key, the number 6, Tatanka, who we talked about on top, and race number 10, a win on number 4, King's Ovation. Noah, talk about your best bets.
Yeah, with race 9, there's 4 makers, and Tatanka is the longest price of the makers.
Other makers.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just kind of what we touched on, or what I touched on. I'm just kind of hoping that James Graham, just sends, and sees if he can hold on. There's horses in there that are old. You don't know if they've still got it. So that's kind of my thinking there. And then race 10, I got the win on King's Ovation, who's off the claim for Teodoro. It looked like Trish Smith. Really like this horse as well. Us Lexington, Kentucky folk, we're kind of thinking the same thing. Another horse that I hope is going to be, on the lead, or if not forwardly placed. There you go. So, if you had to give a theme for, my best bets, they would be, if they have the lead halfway through the race, they got a shot.
Yeah. I mean, look, absolutely. And anywhere like that, I think King's Ovation is a great best bet. And then we always been talking about a horse like Tatanka, who's just going to go out for the lead and just absolutely send And if he can hold on for second or third at a good price of like 10, 12 to 1, that's a great way to play the reverse key try. Noah, good luck with your best bets as well. For me, guys, in race number 8, I'm going with the number 8 Solidify, who both Noah and I liked on top. I wouldn't be willing to go anywhere lower than 5 to 1 in a field like that, because while there is a lot of speed, it's just kind of the fact where I'm playing this off of track trend and the fact that I think a pace is going to materialize. If it doesn't, I wouldn't be willing to bet on a horse that has to be running into not a very hot pace where they've kind of needed it to be a little bit quicker in the past. So number 8 Solidify at 5 to 1 is what I'll be willing to take. In race number 9, I'm going with the number 9, who I talked about as my top pick, Ocelot, paired with Grandpa, Therapist, and into Money Supply, who Patrick and I both liked as our top pick in the 10th race, who looks to sit a very good trip. But guys, I mean, look, how about that timing, huh? 57 minutes on the dot, going pretty well, rather than our our hour 30-minute shows that we've seen in the past, although last week was for a special occasion. And I'll give one more crack at Charlie for that one, for not showing his face. I said I would show my face if I lost, but man lost, and he isn't here again. Of course, he has a final, I know, but we're giving him what he deserves in a day like this. I want to see if it would cover your face. But anyway, guys, that is going to do it for us on the Fairgrounds Claiming Crown late pick 5 on Friday. Of course, it is a full card with 8 stakes races all through the Claiming Crown to get their share of $1 million. But of course, we are covering the late pick 5. If you want to take a look at all the other races, they'll be posted, of course, to my Twitter at AP Roscoe K. Sorry, my X, of course, my fault, at AP Roscoe K. Patrick and Noah also post their picks sometimes as well, so be sure to follow them over there. For my co-hosts, Patrick Kuenzel and Noah Maher, this has been your host, Kyle Roscoe, in episode 51 of Bettin and Boozin, covering Fairgrounds Claiming Crown late pick 5 for Saturday, December 2nd. Take care, everybody. Crush your bets and have a good night.